Did you ever imagine this would be America? In Las Vegas, a city built on dreams and neon promises, over 500 people now live in tunnels beneath the Strip, not by choice, but because above ground, the lights are too bright and the rents far too high. In New York, just a block from the luxury storefronts of Fifth Avenue, a man curls up on a cardboard sheet. He used to be a teacher. Now, he's one of nearly 90 New Yorkers with nowhere to go when night falls. This isn't a story about bad decisions. It's a story about a country where the safety net has thinned to the point of vanishing, where a single missed paycheck, an eviction notice, or a hospital bill can unravel an entire life. We are talking about some of the wealthiest, most iconic cities in the world: Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, San Francisco. But look closer. Behind the skyline, behind the headlines, there are tent cities under freeways, families sleeping in cars, elderly men walking all night just to stay warm. More than 770 Americans are homeless today, and the number keeps growing, not because they've given up, but because they've been priced out, pushed out, and in many cases, forgotten. In this video, we travel through 10 of America's largest cities, not as tourists, but as witnesses, to see what happens when the dream disappears, to hear from those still fighting to be seen. Because this isn't just a crisis of poverty, it's a crisis of humanity. In Los Angeles, reality plays like a cruel contrast. Just blocks away from movie sets where studios burn through millions for a single slow-motion shot, entire communities are surviving in tents made from tarps, duct tape, and hope that's running dangerously thin. The City of Angels, where spotting a celebrity is easier than finding affordable housing, has become a place of cinematic illusion by day and silent despair by night. On one street, a luxury billboard advertises dreams. Next, someone is curled up in a sleeping bag behind a dumpster, counting cracks in the pavement instead of stars in the sky. Nowhere is this contradiction more striking than Skid Row, the largest concentration of unhoused individuals in the United States. What was once a neighborhood has transformed into a sprawling patchwork of tents, trash bags, and haunting stares. It's no longer just a street, it's an entire ecosystem of survival, and it's growing. According to the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, as of 2024, more than 500 people in LA are experiencing homelessness. That's a jump of over 10% in just 1 year. But perhaps the most staggering detail? Nearly half of them are sleeping entirely outdoors with no roof, no water, no restrooms, and little chance of escape. Meanwhile, frustration simmers across the city. Parents feel nervous letting their kids walk alone. Residents whisper that a missed paycheck, a medical bill, or a rent hike could put them on the streets too. The math is relentless. According to Zillow, the average rent in Los Angeles now hovers around $2,800 a month. For many low-income workers and seniors living on fixed incomes, it's a price tag that may as well be a lockout notice. But amidst the chaos, not all hope is lost. Organizations like the Union Rescue Mission are doing the work the city can't or won't. They provide shelter beds, medical care, and job training to help people rebuild from rock bottom. In Skid Row, tech is stepping in where policy has failed. The We Shelter app connects people with food pantries, hygiene stations, and temporary housing. With every tap, users can send real-time alerts not just for help, but for donors to step in and respond. It's a digital lifeline born from community compassion and a desperate need for coordination. And yet, the question lingers like smog over the Hollywood Hills. How can a city that rakes in over $5 billion annually from the entertainment industry overlook the people who helped build its streets, its studios, its dreams? Do you remember when LA's theaters used to be packed with families, the sidewalks clean, the nights peaceful? When the city felt alive not just for the few on magazine covers, but for the everyday people who kept its heart beating? Now, it seems that fame and fortune are preserved for the screens, while reality has been relegated to the margins. The contrast is undeniable. The glitter hasn't disappeared, but it's no longer enough to distract from the shadows creeping in around it. Las Vegas is the city that never dims its lights, but casts long shadows. Above ground, it's all spectacle. Neon signs flicker with promise. Champagne glasses clink in luxury suites. The roulette wheels spin as fortunes are won and lost in seconds. Laughter, lights, and indulgence are everywhere. But just beneath that shimmering surface, buried in the concrete veins of the city, another Las Vegas exists, one you won't see in the postcards. In the storm drains and sewer tunnels beneath the Strip, over 500 people have made their homes. Yes, homes. In tunnels meant for runoff and rats. This underground network stretches for miles, a pitch-black labyrinth where lives are lived out in the damp echo of casino drainpipes. Old mattresses sit atop concrete. Candles light small corners. Grocery carts serve as closets. When the rains come, flash floods can wash away everything. Sometimes even people. They are not just the destitute or forgotten. They are veterans, seniors, parents, even full-time workers, the people who once waited tables, parked cars, served drinks, or performed for tips under the city's dazzling lights. According to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, 2024, nearly 1 in 5 working residents in the city still can't afford stable housing. The average rent for a modest one-bedroom apartment has soared to $450 per month, a 35% increase over the last 3 years. Yet wages remain virtually frozen in time. And instead of easing the burden, local laws have made life even harder. Setting up a tent in a public space now carries a 1-0 fine or 6 months in jail, a policy that doesn't end homelessness, it just makes it invisible. People are being forced out of sight, into tunnels, abandoned lots, or the scorched outskirts of the Mojave. It's not a shelter, it's survival. Down below, they try to hold on to dignity, but it's hard when the ceiling is a manhole cover. Enter Shine a Light, one of the few lifelines left. This grassroots group ventures into the tunnels to offer medical care, hygiene supplies, job assistance, and trauma counseling. For many, they're the only human connection left. In parallel, the Hand Up app is giving Las Vegas residents a way to contribute directly by responding to specific needs in real time, whether that's a pair of boots, a sleeping bag, or emergency medication. These are quiet acts of kindness in a city built on noise. Las Vegas has always been a city of dualities of luck and loss, fantasy and fallout, but now the contrast feels starker than ever. Above ground, fortunes are spun on the green velvet of casino floors. Just below, people who once poured drinks, dealt cards, or cleaned rooms now lie in the dark, wondering if the world even remembers they exist. So we ask, how can a city that burns so brightly leave so many to live in the shadows? The roulette wheel keeps turning, but for those underground, the game stopped long ago. This subway system built the mythos of the city fast, fearless, always in motion. But these days, not everyone down there is catching a train. Some are just catching their breath. Others are trying to survive the night. The subway isn't a means of transport anymore, it's a last resort. Above ground, the picture doesn't get any brighter. You'll see tent clusters in public parks, encampments near the Brooklyn Bridge, makeshift shelters wedged into alleys in Queens. They call it New Tent City, a city within a city, built not by architects but by desperation. And the numbers don't lie. According to the US Department of Housing and Urban Development, New York's homeless population has surged by 175% over the last 2 decades. The COVID-19 pandemic brought brief relief through eviction freezes and rental aid. But once the programs ended, the wave came crashing back harder than ever. What's even more heartbreaking? The sharp rise in elderly homelessness. In just 5 years, the number of retired people living on the streets has jumped more than 55%. Why? Because rent has doubled, while social security checks haven't kept up. Because after decades of work, the system has nothing left to offer. Homelessness in New York isn't just about losing a home, it's about losing access to healthcare, to stability, to dignity. It's about families living in buses, in parking garages, unable to send their kids to school. It's about small businesses shuttering because customers no longer feel safe walking past rows of tents. It's not just the streets that are broken, it's the social contract. And yet, in the thick of this darkness, there are sparks of light. Organizations like Coalition for the Homeless and God's Love We Deliver are working tirelessly, delivering meals and support, especially to elderly residents. Brands like Tom's and programs like Meals on Wheels have stepped in to serve vulnerable neighborhoods in Brooklyn, providing warm meals and sometimes just a warm word. But the question remains, is this still a country where hard work leads to stability? When people who built this city, who gave it their best years, now find themselves sleeping beneath silver tarp tents? This isn't just a policy failure, it's a moral reckoning. Do you believe these people deserve better? Have you witnessed this reality firsthand? We want to hear your thoughts. Share your experiences in the comments below. If you believe these stories deserve to be seen, please like, share, and subscribe to help us keep the conversation alive. Welcome to San Diego, a city kissed by the sun, yet chilled by inequality. The ocean sparkles, the air is soft with salt and breeze. Tourists stroll barefoot along Mission Bay, surfboards in hand, sipping iced lattes beneath swaying palms. It's paradise, at least, at first glance. But take just a few more steps inland, and the postcard starts to crumble. Lining the boulevards just blocks from the beach are rows of tents, car shelters, and makeshift encampments. In the shadows of palm trees, people sleep in rusted-out sedans with cracked windows and no plumbing. A few have been here for months, others for years. Most can't remember the last time they called a real house home. San Diego, once hailed as one of the top vacation spots in the United States, is now one of the most visible battlegrounds of America's housing crisis. Under freeway overpasses and tucked into the edges of public parks, thousands of people are huddling beneath thin blankets and blue tarps, not because they chose this life, but because they couldn't afford the alternative. According to the San Diego Regional Task Force on Homelessness, the city recorded over 200 people experiencing homelessness by the end of 2023, a 22% spike in just 1 year. The numbers don't lie, but they also don't fully capture the quiet devastation. San Diego's rent prices have skyrocketed to 63% above the national average. A modest 2-bedroom apartment now costs nearly $2,800 per month, a price tag completely out of reach for minimum wage earners, fixed-income retirees, and even many full-time workers. So people fall through the cracks, not always dramatically, but slowly. Rent hikes, a lost job, medical debt, a missed paycheck. Until finally, the beach view becomes something only seen through a car windshield fogged up from breath and worry. And it's not just housing that's slipping away, it's hope, recovery, and access to care. The elderly, in particular, are vanishing into this silent epidemic. With nowhere to go, they suffer quietly. Bodies aging in parking lots, minds unraveling on bus benches, dignity fraying with every cold night. San Diego is becoming a city split in two, not by rivers or highways, but by whether or not you have a roof over your head. Some help is on the horizon. The city is investing in quick-build container homes, offering temporary shelter that is clean, safe, and affordable. Meanwhile, Father Joe's Villages has launched an innovative community care model, creating permanent housing for seniors along with medical, psychological, and nutritional support. It's not a fix-all, but it's a foothold for those climbing out of despair. Still, the question lingers. Are these metal boxes and pop-up programs treating the wound, or just covering it? Can we really expect steel walls to heal broken hearts, frayed nerves, and years of disconnection? Because behind every tent, every tarp, every folded blanket on the sidewalk, there's a story, a person, a life once filled with plans, and those lives deserve more than a temporary fix. They deserve a city that sees them, a system that serves them, a future that includes them. San Diego may have the sunshine, but for thousands, it still feels like the coldest place on Earth. In Phoenix, the city's relentless sun forces a strange rhythm on those without shelter. They sleep through the blistering daylight hours and wander the streets at night, not chasing nightlife, but escaping the searing pavement that can reach a staggering 60 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt even the toughest rubber soles. Known as one of the hottest cities in America, Phoenix's sun doesn't just wither trees and scorch landscapes, it burns away the fragile hopes of its homeless residents. They find refuge wherever they can in the scant shadows of parks, beneath bridges, or in forgotten corners of abandoned parking lots, knowing full well they must move again once dawn breaks. Over the past 5 years, rents in Phoenix have surged nearly 80%, while wages have barely budged. Today, more than 600 people live without a home, many of them elderly, unemployed, or shut out from medical aid. The deadly mix of extreme heat and a lack of safe shelter doesn't just threaten a night's sleep, it chips away at health, erodes spirit, and crushes any chance for recovery. To combat this brutal reality, organizations like Circle the City have stepped in with cooling stations and free water distribution points. Mobile medical and mental health units patrol the streets, bringing vital care directly to those who often cannot seek it themselves. During summer's peak, these roving clinics become lifelines, especially for the elderly, who struggle to move and survive in the unforgiving heat. So, if you're 65 and homeless in the desert, who will shield you from the sun's merciless blaze? What was once a symbol of life-giving energy has become an indifferent force, stripping away even the most delicate threads of survival. Silicon Valley, where the code is clean, but the conscience is cluttered. This is the place that built the future. From polished boardrooms high above San Jose, you can trace the skyline dotted with icons. Google, Apple, Meta, names that reshaped how we live, work, and connect. But scroll a little further down that view, and the picture warps. Just a few blocks from billion-dollar ideas, hundreds sleep in battered vans, under weathered tarps, or in repurposed shipping containers. Many of them once held jobs inside those same buildings, now glittering in the distance. This is the paradox at the heart of the tech capital. San Jose, a city with one of the highest median incomes in the country, is also home to over 300 homeless individuals, and nearly 1 in 5 of them are employed full-time. These aren't people unwilling to work, they're people working without a place to call home. The numbers paint a bleak reality. A one-bedroom apartment here now rents for over $30 a month, a price tag that doesn't just exclude the poor, but also quietly pushes out teachers, janitors, delivery drivers, and even junior tech staff. The very backbone of the valley's infrastructure is buckling under the weight of its own success. It's not just a housing crisis, it's a rupture in values. How can a city that builds artificial intelligence allow real people to live in such indignity? How can a place obsessed with user experience forget the human experience? Some solutions are taking shape. The city is weighing rent control laws and considering raising the minimum wage to $20 an hour to keep pace with runaway costs. Nonprofits like Life Moves are stepping in, offering transitional housing, career support, and medical care to unhoused residents over 55. But deeper questions linger in the fiber optic air. Have we engineered prosperity at the expense of compassion? Have we built smart cities while ignoring the people who make them run? And perhaps the most pressing of all, what's the use of innovation if it can't shelter the innovators? Philadelphia is a city where the echoes of a glorious past clash harshly with the brutal realities of today. In Kensington, once a thriving industrial hub, hope has all but faded beneath the weight of addiction and neglect. Streets littered with medical waste bear silent witness to the opioid crisis that has turned this neighborhood into the nation's epicenter of despair. Among the shattered windows and empty factories, people roam, lost souls caught in the grip of poverty, addiction, and homelessness. More than 500 Philadelphians experience homelessness, with nearly 950 sleeping outside each night. Among them are the elderly, former teachers, and laborers' ordinary lives, unraveled by circumstances beyond their control. Here, opioid use runs at 3 times the national average, turning survival into a relentless, downward spiral. When homelessness intersects with addiction and health crises, access to care becomes nearly impossible. It's a vicious cycle where illness fuels isolation, and isolation deepens despair. Kensington, once a beacon of opportunity and hard work, has become a grim symbol of surrender to poverty, to disease, and to a society that too often looks away. But amid the shadows, flickers of hope persist. The city is expanding vocational training programs aimed at the homeless and those battling addiction. In 2023 alone, more than 200 individuals took part, learning new skills and reclaiming pieces of their dignity. Project Home is partnering with local churches and businesses to create supportive, integrated communities offering housing alongside mental health and addiction recovery services, especially for older adults. Yet a question lingers. Can a city, a nation, built on ideals of progress and democracy, truly heal its deepest wounds from within? Or are we allowing the past and the people caught in its broken corners to quietly dissolve into forgotten shadows? And here we are, in San Francisco, a city often described as a paradise of progress, where innovation, finance, and technology converge to shape the future. But behind the skyline of glass towers and billion-dollar startups lies a more painful truth, one of suffocating rent prices, fractured communities, and a growing sense that the promise of prosperity has left too many behind. In this tech mecca, it's not uncommon to see a self-driving car glide silently past someone pitching a tent for the night on a crowded sidewalk. The same sidewalks that once symbolized a cultural revolution now serve as makeshift homes for thousands. Just blocks from venture capital boardrooms and AI labs, the Tenderloin district tells a different story of lives unraveling in plain sight, amid needles, trash, and averted gazes. San Francisco, the crown jewel of the tech world, is also home to nearly 700-800 homeless individuals, almost a third of California's total. The average cost of a one-bedroom apartment here now tops $300 a month, the highest in the nation. Even those with steady, full-time jobs are being priced out, forced to make impossible choices. In a city that sends rockets into space, many can't afford a room with a locked door. As old neighborhoods are bulldozed to make way for co-working spaces and luxury condos, what's vanishing isn't just affordable housing, it's diversity, humanity, and the cultural fabric that once defined San Francisco. With every tent cleared by city crews, another thread of the city's soul is quietly severed. But, amid this crisis, there are flickers of hope. Organizations like Lava May are bringing dignity back to the streets with mobile showers, hygiene kits, and medical care tailored for elderly homeless individuals. In the Bay Area, the Kindly app is being piloted to connect residents directly with people in need, using technology not just to innovate, but to humanize. We walked past tents, stepped over blankets. Maybe we didn't mean to look away. Maybe we just didn't know what to say. But behind every makeshift shelter is a name, a face, a life interrupted. This isn't just a crisis of poverty. It's a crisis of memory, what we choose to see, and what we allow ourselves to forget. If you've stayed with us this far, thank you. But please, don't stop here. Behind every statistic is a human story. A dream not ended, just rerouted. These 10 cities, each with their own struggles, remind us that this crisis isn't about one place, one policy, or one kind of person. It's woven into the fabric of a nation that once promised more. Now it's our turn not to judge, but to witness, to listen, to remember. If this story moved you, please share this video. Comment below with what you've seen in your own city, a face you remember, a moment you can't forget. Sometimes, change begins with simply paying attention. We're not here to draw battle lines. We're here to remind ourselves that dignity isn't earned. It's owed to every human being. If you believe that too, help us keep this conversation alive. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.